States. It's Mark from the United States.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Mark from the States. How are we doing today? I am doing fantastic. I hope you are as well. Thank you so much for coming. Today, along with Violet, we are going to look at the history of Savile Row. Not road, row. It's when I hear someone say Savile Row, I always think road. But it's not road, it's row, Savile Row. I'm excited to see this. I've heard of Savile Row. I'm sure once we get to London, we will definitely take a stroll down Savile Row. They are known for their tailoring and clothing, and it's one of those famous streets. So I'm excited to see this. This has come requested. It is by one of our favorites, History Lord. So please, before we go any further, you know what I'm going to say is please go and support the original content. Go and support his channel. Watch his channel. Like, subscribe if you may. Feel like that. And like this video too. Please. It helps, I guess, from what I've been told. So do the clickety-click things that everybody asks for. That's awesome. Come sit on this big fake couch with me. You know the drill. And let's get into history of Savile Row. Just to reiterate, videos are kind of coming out, not at their normal times, but it's when I can get to them. Like I said, this week has been crazy with work. It may spill into next week, but seems like I'm still able to get them out every day, but just maybe an hour later than normal. So appreciate all of you. Over 7,000 subscribers. That's pretty amazing. I hit 7,000. I got to like 710. Then it dropped back down to like 7,004, and that was weird how it went up to like 7,011, then down to 7,004. There was a few people who had buyer's remorse apparently, and then now we're heading back up again. So I don't pretend to even know why people have come to hang out. I guess it's because we watch really cool stuff, and that's not because of me. That is because of all the content creators that we watch. They're the ones that make this crazy and awesome and very interesting things that we can watch and learn from. So thank you to all of them, and thank you to all of you who I just adore, because you guys have made this journey just awesome. So thank you. With that out of the way, let's get into this episode, History of Savile Row.
Welcome to the History Lord. You join us here in Savile Row in the West End of London. Now, Savile Row these days is associated with high-end, bespoke gentlemen's outfits. But how did it come here, and what's its history? Let's find out, shall we? Welcome to London.
Thank you.
The first house in what would become Savile Row was, to quote, a fine house and grounds, and it was built in 1674 on what is now number 1. That house was occupied by a series of noblemen until it was demolished in the 1730s. That demolition was to prepare for the laying of the houses on the east of Savile Row in 1731. The street itself was built between 1731 and 1735 on land known as 10 acres, and it belonged to a merchant tailor called William Maddox. It's part of the development of the Burlington estate. The road itself is named after Lady Dorothy Savile, wife of the 3rd Earl of Burlington. It was initially laid out under the name of Savile Street, and Savile Row, as we know it now, ran from Burlington Gardens, which was then called Vigo Lane, to Boyle Street, with houses only on the east side. But in the 19th century, houses were also built on the west side. At first, the street was occupied by military officers and their wives, and a few politicians as well. William Pitt the Younger wrote letters from the street when it was called Savile Street. There was also the Irish-born playwright and Member of Parliament, Richard Brinsley Sheridan. he lived at number 14 Savile Row between 1813 and 1816 until his death. The fiction writer Jules Verne had Phileas Fogg, his lead character in Around the World in 80 Days, live at number 7 Savile Row. Taylor started moving into Savile Row in about 1790. In fact, it was just around the corner in Cork Street, and they moved into Savile Row in about 1803. Now, it was 1846 that Henry Poole arrived here, and he is credited with being the inventor of the dinner jacket, or the tuxedo. As tailoring moved into the street, house frontages were altered to bring natural light into the working areas for the tailors. Over the years, the houses have been much altered, and the original Burlingtonian designs have been mostly lost. Although number 14 still remains much of the original external features. Number 1, Savile Row, from 1870 to 1912, was occupied by the Royal Geographical Society, from where significant British explorations were planned. They included explorations to Asia, Africa, and the South Pole. And according to the Society, that address became associated with adventure and travel. It was here that David Livingstone was laid out in state at the Society's headquarters before being buried in Westminster Abbey. Savile Row was extended to Conduit Street in the late 1930s, and by 1939 the Metropolitan Police Station was constructed on the corner of Boyle Street. This police station was damaged by a German bomb during the raids of September 1940, during which the building opposite, which was 21A, was destroyed, as was number 7 earlier on that month. Nutters of Savile Row modernised the style and approach of tailoring traditions. It's a modernisation which continued all the way through to the 1990s with the New Bespoke movement. Designers such as Richard James, Oswald Boateng and Timothy Everest were the instigators of that. Incidentally, Savile Row gives a word to the Japanese language. One of the Japanese words for a business suit is sebiro, which derives from Savile Row. Now, you may recognise this street from certain films. One of the most famous films that was shot, well, in these premises, what was it called? Kingsman. And I think the sign's still here. In July of 1968, the Beatles moved their Apple Corps, their multimedia corporation, to number 3 Savile Row, and a studio was built in the basement. Although it was thought it was poorly designed, the Beatles recorded Let It Be before the new studio was constructed in 1971. The estimated cost of that was a staggering $1.5 million. Lots of artists, including Mary Hopkin, Mark Bolan and Badfinger, have all recorded in that basement studio. It only lasted 4 years. It closed in May of 1975.
That's a bummer.
So it was here that the Beatles had their last gig. But I think that's for another video, don't you? Thank you very much for watching today. We do hope you enjoy these videos. And James and I are very happy that we've got all these followers, especially on TikTok. We're over 20,000 now, so that's amazing. So thank you very much for that. If you want to see what we do outside these videos, please go to historylore.co.uk, see about the walking tour of London, or have a look for Last Line Films. That's James's YouTube channel as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you very soon. Take care.
That is pretty remarkable, though, the history of, and how it kind of transformed into a, what he called the Burlington era, I guess. How it was mainly military leaders and some politicians that would live there, to what has become today the transformation of it being renowned for its tailors and clothing. It's just it's interesting how the personality, if I may say, of the street itself just changes into something completely different. I mean, it's still pretty affluent, or affluent, I should pronounce it right, when it comes to whether you're living there or purchasing clothing there. The guy invented the tuxedo, or the dinner jacket. That's, I don't know whether to thank him or curse at him. because I've been having to wear a lot of, not tuxedos, but dinner jackets of late. A lot of galas I've been going to with my beautiful wife for her work. She has been involved in a lot of these. Her company has been sponsoring a lot of these events, so it seems like every weekend we're off to another. Like last weekend, we were at a gala, and I thought about taking photos, but there were some celebrities there, and I didn't want to be that guy. But it was right underneath Harry Potter's castle from Universal Studios. Not like literally right underneath, but just down the hill in Burbank. It was right next to the Warner Brothers studio and right below Universal Studio. And from where we were sitting for dinner and for the auction and all that stuff, you just look up and you see Harry Potter's castle right there. It's pretty cool. But great venue. And they're a lot of fun. It's free booze, free food, mingle. You just spend a little money on some auction gifts, or at least pretend like you are by bidding. And yeah, it's fun. They're a lot of fun. In fact, I'm going to another one this Saturday, but I think it's very low key, so I don't have to wear my suit. Anywho, enough about that. Thank you so much. Very interesting video. There are streets, of course, that are famous. And, of course, Savile Row, I believe, is one that people know from around the world. Of course, Fifth Avenue in New York is famous. Hollywood Boulevard is, or Sunset Boulevard, either one of those is famous out here on my side of the country. Yeah, there's famous streets all over, and they're interesting how they get to where they get to. Anyway, hope everybody's happy, healthy, and safe. Obviously, you've been there. Do I even ask if you've been there? If you haven't, you can certainly say so. But the question would be, has anybody been, or should I say, has anybody purchased anything on Savile Row in one of the tailors? Does anybody have a nice outfit that they've purchased there? Feel free to share a photo if you did. I'm sure we'll visit. I do. I really do. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark. And he's from